Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into our time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
We go back to March 26, 1950, an episode of The Whistler. This episode is entitled The Lady in the Snow.
Signal, signal gasoline.
Signal, the famous Go Farther gasoline, invites you to sit back and enjoy another strange story by The Whistler. For extra driving pleasure, the signal to look for is the yellow and black circle sign that identifies signal service stations from Canada to Mexico. And for Sunday evening listening pleasure, the signal to listen for is this whistle that identifies the signal oil program, The Whistler. I am the Whistler, and I know many things, for I walk by night. I know many strange tales hidden in the hearts of men and women who have stepped into the shadows. Yes, I know the nameless terrors of which they dare not speak. And now for the Signal Oil Company, the Whistler's strange story, The Lady in the Snow. It was midnight, and the street was quiet with the serene, gentle stillness of the hour, except for the light shining brightly from the drugstore on the corner and from Brent Morrison's home studio a few doors down the street. The rest of the neighborhood was dark. Inside the studio, Brent Morrison, well-known commercial artist, was working feverishly on an advertising layout with his assistant, Elaine Nelson. Suddenly, Brent stopped, put his pen aside, leaned back and lit a cigarette.
Well, Elaine, won't be long now. Just about finished. Looks good, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. It's going to be the best double-page ad that's ever been placed between two magazine covers. Your idea of doing it with cartoons was terribly clever.
Well, thanks.
You know, Brent, you've got a style all your own. No other commercial artist can match it.
Thanks again. I hope working late tonight didn't interrupt any plans.
No. Joe and I didn't have anything planned.
Good. How is Joe, by the way?
Oh, just the same as ever. Lost another job last week.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm used to it. Let's get back to work, shall we?
Okay. If you'll color the sketch here while... I wonder who that could be at this hour. Better answer, it might be a client.
Brent, wait. If that should be Joe asking for me, would you tell him I'm not here, that I'm on my way home?
But Elaine...
Please, Brent, it's important to me. I'll explain later.
Well, all right. Hello?
Mr. Morrison, this is Joe. Joe Nelson.
Oh, yes,
Is my wife there?
Well, no, she isn't. She left some time ago. Ought to be home any minute.
Okay. Thanks, Mr. Morrison.
Thanks, Brent.
Look, Elaine, what goes here? Why did you ask?
Oh, it's nothing, really.
Well, you'd better tell me. It could be I just put myself in quite a spot.
Well, the last time I worked late with you, Joe didn't like it. We had quite an argument.
Well, why didn't you tell me he was suspicious?
Because I was afraid you'd be annoyed, get someone else to work with you. With Joe out of a job, earning a living's up to me.
Well, I'd have been glad to make some special arrangement. We could have worked at your place.
I'm sorry, Joe. I'm so lonely, and Joe is so difficult. He finds fault with everything I do.
Oh, now, Elaine. Elaine, if there's anything I can do...
Thanks, but I guess there isn't. It's nice to know you're willing to help.
You're a wonderful girl, Elaine. It's just too bad Joe doesn't understand.
Wow. It's a very touching scene.
Joe!
Yeah. Very touching. I figured you and this Morrison guy out all along, baby.
Oh, wait, you're all wrong.
I knew you were here. That's why I called from the drugstore on the corner just to see what Morrison would say. He gave me the wrong answer. And he's gonna pay for it. This andiron will do the trick.
Brent, look out.
You raise an arm to stop him, but Joe moves in quickly. Sharp, sudden pain, and you're almost defenseless against the rain of blows against your arms and body. And then just as suddenly, it's there in your hand, the gun, your gun. You see Elaine realize that she's handed it to you. Your gun, Brent. You know it isn't loaded, but it might frighten Joe off. He grabs for it. The struggle for possession heightens. Suddenly, you feel Joe relax, and then he crumbles.
Brent, you shot him.
But how? The gun. It was never loaded before. Elaine. Is he?
Yes. He's dead.
You look down at Joe's lifeless form, and as the gun in your hand clatters to the floor, you wonder how it ever could have been loaded. You blink in amazement, turn from Joe to Elaine. Your mouth forms words to say to her, but the words won't come. She just looks at you, a steady, expressionless stare. And then...
Hey, what's going on in there? I heard shots. What happened?
I'm so glad you've come. That man there, Mr. Morrison, he just shot my husband.
Elaine! It was an accident. It was self-defense, and you know it.
Oh, it's no use, Brent. I won't lie for you. Whatever was between us is over now. I can't defend a murderer.
This man's dead, all right.
Hadn't we better call the police?
I've already phoned him, lady. Did it as soon as I heard the shots.
It's like some horrible nightmare, isn't it, Brent? You try to shake it off, but it's no use. You can't understand why, but Elaine is saying you murdered her husband, and the police are on their way. You stand there staring, Elaine weeping softly, the man looking at you curiously.
Here the police come now. I better go out and flag them down. I couldn't give them the exact address. I didn't know it.
Elaine, what's this all about? Tell me.
Oh, come off it, Brent. You can't be that dumb.
Dumb. I'm beginning to see. You planned the whole thing. Me on the phone telling Joe you weren't here. And then when he came, you gave me the gun you loaded without my knowledge. You wanted me to kill him.
The police will never know that, Brent.
But why? Why did you want Joe dead?
Simple. $20,000 worth of life insurance. With $20,000, a girl can live a little. She can do a lot of things.
But Elaine, why did you pick on me?
You were handy. Besides, I don't like the way you've used my ideas.
That's not true, and you know it. You don't think you're going to get away with a brazen frame-up like this, do you?
No? Of course I'll get away with it.
As you hear the police car stop outside, you suddenly spring into action. Before Elaine can stop you, you're out the door, running down the back stairs.
Stop him! He's getting away! Stop him!
You race down the back alley to your car, then speed away into the night. As you reach the outskirts of town, you hear the siren again. You know they've picked up your trail. And now you realize it was a mistake, wasn't it, Brent, running away? The gun, your gun, Brent, back there on the floor of your studio, your fingerprints on it. By running, no one will ever believe that you were framed for the murder of Joe Nelson. Several miles later, you turn into a narrow road leading past an old abandoned quarry. The police car is closing the gap between you. And then too late, you remember the sharp curve above the old quarry, the deep pool at the bottom. Your car spins, skids, heads for the steep embankment. Quickly, you open the door, jump, just in time as your car starts its horrible descent toward the quarry pool. For a minute, a black curtain shuts out everything. And then it's gone. And you find yourself lying in a clump of bushes.
Over here, Bill.
Below, you hear voices.
You sure picked the wrong
You crawl to the ledge, look down, see the two policemen.
You sure took a tumble.
Yeah, and that pool of water is at least 50 feet deep.
Never get him out of there alive. That's a cinch.
Well, maybe it's a break for him. It was this or the gas chamber.
March 23rd, 1950, The Whistler on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. You're listening to Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Now more of The Whistler, March 23rd, 1950, The Lady in the Snow.
Brent, Elaine's scheme to frame you for her husband's murder worked, didn't it? You had to get away fast, and in the police chase following your flight from the house, your car crashed over a steep embankment into an abandoned quarry pool. By a miracle, you had managed to jump clear of the car and remained in hiding while the police were at the scene. They believed you went down with the automobile. So now you're free. Until they pull the car out, discover you're not in it. You manage to stagger back to the road, hail a ride in a passing truck. You do a lot of thinking, don't you, Brent? And shortly before dawn, you get off the truck at the outskirts of a small mountain village, Kentville. You make your way slowly into a clump of trees, drop exhausted on the grass, and soon you're asleep. When you open your eyes again, the sun is shining. And there's someone standing over you.
Hello.
Oh. Hello.
What? You're hurt. Your shirt, there's blood on it.
It's nothing. I just slipped a while ago. Fell on some rocks, just scratched myself up a little.
Oh, here. Here, let me help you out.
That's all right. I'll be okay.
Oh, you are hurt. Hello. Feeling better now?
Yeah, I guess so.
We didn't get around to introductions. I'm Claire Lawton. This is Dr. Matthews. He helped bring you here to my house.
Hello, son.
What's your name?
It's Webb, Roy Webb.
Good thing Claire found you, Mr. Webb, and called me. You were pretty badly banged up. You'll be okay.
Just what did happen, Mr. Webb?
What happened?
Yes, I'm curious.
Well, I'm not sure.
You can't tell them the truth, can you, Brent? So you tell them you can't remember, that you must have suffered a brief lapse of memory. You explain you've had similar attacks before, that you can remember some things, your identity, but you can't remember others. You're relieved when Dr. Matthews seemed to accept your story. The following week, with the help of Dr. Matthews, you find a furnished cottage. You're glad it's inexpensive because you don't have much money with you, Brent. And you realize you can't write a check as Brent Morrison. You're certain the police have already pulled your car out of the quarry pool, discover you've escaped. You've got to hide out now. And Kentville seems a safe place. A few nights later, Dr. Matthews drops in to see you.
Feeling better, son?
Much better, Doctor.
Your memory improving?
Well, no, can't say that it is. It's very strange.
Look, son, you'd better quit stalling.
Stalling?
You haven't amnesia. You didn't have amnesia the day Claire found you. You didn't betray the slightest symptoms.
Oh, I see. Then why did you let me...
Because you were pretty badly hurt, suffering from shock, and you seemed like a nice young man. Now I want the truth. Who are you, and what are you doing here in Kentville?
Now you know, Brent. Your story didn't fool Dr. Matthews for a second, and you're faced with a vital decision. You make up your mind quickly. Tell him as much as you dare that you've been framed, involved in a scandal affecting your future. But you don't mention names or the death of Joe Nelson.
Why, sounds fantastic. You're not making this up, son.
What I've told you is the truth, Doctor.
All right, I believe you. So you want to stay on here? Maybe need time to think things out, eh?
Yes. That's what I want. I need time to think things out.
You feel safer than you have in a long time, don't you, Brent? And you're certain you found a real friend in Dr. Matthews. There's Claire Lawton, too. And though you've known her for only a short time, she already means a great deal to you. The following evening, as the two of you return from a movie, you decide to tell her not only the things you've already told Dr. Matthews, but the whole story.
There it is, Claire. The whole story.
Thanks, Brent. Thanks for telling me. I was really worried about you, not knowing where you came from, what you'd done.
You mean my situation doesn't upset you?
Of course it does. But it'll work out. It has to. Anybody who knew you at all would know you couldn't kill anyone.
Thanks, Claire. Your belief in me means more to me than you know.
I was afraid you'd forgotten things like... Well, like...
Like what, Claire?
Like you might be married.
There's little doubt in your mind as to how she feels about you, Brent. And you realize now you never want to leave Kentville, Claire, and friends like Dr. Matthews. But staying on here presents a problem. Money, Brent. What little you have will be gone soon, and you have no way of getting to your funds at home. But you can still draw and paint, can't you? And suddenly an idea hits you. A cartoon strip, one you've had in the back of your mind for a long while. Now, if ever, is the time, Brent. You work feverishly, disguising your style as much as possible. Then, using your new name, Roy Webb, you send the results to a newspaper syndicate in New York. When you receive their reply, a contract, it's even better than you'd hoped. Claire is elated. And as the months pass, you spend more and more time together. You've a bank account now. The citizens of Kentville have accepted you as one of their own. And you wonder if you can't spend the rest of your days here as Roy Webb, cartoonist. And then one evening, as you return to your cottage...
Hello, Brent.
Elaine.
Or shall I call you Roy? Roy Webb. You should have known I'd spot your comic strip, trace you through the syndicate.
All right. So you found me. What are you going to do? Turn me in?
That depends on you. Joe's insurance money didn't last long, but it was nice while it lasted. I hate to work, you know. I won't have to go back to work, will I?
Blackmail, huh? First a frame for murder and now black.
I'll make it very easy on you, Brent. $300 a month.
That's impossible.
Oh, no, it isn't. You forget I know a little about the money in cartoons. I'd like the first payment in a few days.
Now, look, Elaine.
By the way, I've a new name, too. It's Helen Walsh. You'll have the money by Saturday. Won't you, darling?
All right. I'll have it.
Fine. I'll be staying here in Kentville for a while. Matter of fact, I rented a small cottage up on the hill. We'll be seeing quite a bit of each other from now on. Won't we, Brent?
As the weeks pass, Elaine becomes more and more demanding. Insists you take her to dinner, the movies, and the lonely roadhouse on the outskirts of Kentville. And finally, she demands that you increase her allowance to $500 a month. You manage to stall her off for a time. But then one night, as you're driving up to her remote cottage, she tells you of a new plan.
You know, Brent, I'm getting pretty fed up with this burg. I think it's time I moved on. Palm Springs, maybe.
Oh? Isn't this rather sudden, this decision to leave?
Oh, I guess it is. You're coming with me, of course.
Now, wait a minute. I like it here.
I know, but I want you in Palm Springs, close by. You and the money.
If it's the money you're worried about, I'll mail it to you.
You might, for a while. Then you'd miss a payment. I'd come back here and you'd be gone. Might take weeks to find you. Oh, no, darling.
Well, perhaps we can work something out, Elaine. At least give me time to think it over.
All right. 24 hours. You can think it over that long. Just be at my cabin tomorrow night, Brent. And you'd better decide to go with me.
You hadn't planned on this, had you, Brent?
There's always something. March 26, 1950, The Whistler on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. The conclusion follows these messages from your favorite radio station. Just when you thought it couldn't get any better, Mike Lindell and MyPillow launching the MyPillow 2.0. Now, when Mike invented MyPillow, it had everything you could want in a pillow. Now, nearly 20 years later, he's discovered a new technology that makes MyPillow even better. Of course, the patented adjustable fill of the original MyPillow, but now with brand new fabric with a temperature-regulating thread, it's the softest, smoothest, and coolest pillow you'll ever own. Say goodbye to tossing and turning and flipping your pillow over in the middle of the night. And more great news on the MyPillow 2.0 buy one, get one free offer with my promo code Wyatt. MyPillow 2.0 is 100% made in the USA, 10-year warranty, 60-day money-back guarantee. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio podcast square to receive the MyPillow 2.0 buy one, get one free offer. Use my promo code Wyatt or call 1-800-928-4715. Thanks for tuning into Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Now the conclusion of The Whistler, March 26, 1950, The Lady in the Snow.
You hadn't planned on this, had you, Brent? The idea of Elaine leaving Kentville seemed like a very good one to you, but you never thought she'd force you to go with her. You don't sleep well that night, and during all the next day, the decision you must make twists and turns in your mind. Finally, you're on your way to Elaine's cottage again. The light snow that started falling in the afternoon has become thicker, and the narrow road leading up to the cabin is more treacherous than usual. You drive slowly, with great care, and when you arrive at the cabin, Elaine is pleased with your decision.
Yes, I'll go with you, Elaine.
Fine. I'm all packed. We can leave tonight.
Tonight? Oh, now look, I can't go tonight. I'll have to close up the cottage, settle some bills in the village.
All right. In the morning, then.
What's your hurry, anyway?
Just want to get out of this iceberg, that's all. It's getting colder every minute.
Yeah, there's a pretty bad storm going, too. I'd better start now while I can still make
Now,
it.
before you go, close that window, will you? I'm freezing.
As you start back from the window, you watch Elaine strike a match, bend down to light the gas heater. She straightens up, stands there warming herself.
Not much of a heater, but it'll have to do.
Anything else?
No, just close the door on your way out. I'm going to get some sleep. See you in the morning.
Outside, you brace yourself against the wind, make fresh tracks in the snow to your car. And then suddenly you stop. In one blind moment, you whirl, head back toward the cottage, around to the side, the main gas valve. Quickly, you turn it off. You wait one breathless moment until you're certain the light in the heater inside the cabin has gone out. And then you turn the valve on again. Elaine will be in bed soon, and the heater in the front room will pour forth deadly gas fumes all the rest of the night. Only after you reach your own cottage do you realize what you've done. You pace up and down, your heart pounding. She deserves to die, doesn't she, Brent? And you keep telling yourself that's the way it's got to be. But it's no use, is it? You can't let her die, can you, Brent? No matter what she's done to you, you know now you can't commit murder. You go out into the storm to your car. You drive crazily up the narrow road again, twisting, swerving dangerously. Your own safety isn't a factor now. Even though Elaine is vicious, threatening, you've got to reach her in time. Only 2 more curves and you'll be there. Your foot is almost on the floorboard now, and as you take the first curve at top speed, A pair of headlights suddenly looms ahead. You feel remote, detached, Brent. And when you open your eyes, the blur before them clears slowly. It's morning. You stare at the ceiling above you, then down the walls to the bed in which you lie. And there, standing at the foot of the bed, is Claire.
Hello, darling.
Claire. Where am
You're all right, Brent. There was an accident. You're in the hospital.
I? Accident.
That's right, Morrison.
Who are you?
Lieutenant Taylor, Los Angeles Homicide. We've been looking for you for a long time, Morrison.
Yes, I guess so. But wait a minute. Claire, the cabin, Elaine Nelson. I was on my way up there.
Elaine Nelson? There's nothing you can do for her. Elaine Nelson's dead, Morrison.
It's all over, isn't it, Brent? You know you were too late. The accident on the road to Elaine's cabin prevented you from reaching it in time to shut off the gas. And Elaine Nelson is dead. Now, in your hospital room, Claire Lawton, the girl you're in love with, is standing by your bed. So is Lieutenant Taylor of Los Angeles Homicide. And you're certain he knows that you're responsible for Elaine's death. There's nothing else for you to do now except tell him the whole story. But you know he won't believe a word of it. As you start to explain...
Save your breath, Morrison. We know who did it. We know the whole story.
Yes. I suppose you do.
As soon as the local police got the facts, they called us. That's why I came. It's all cut and dried. We've got the gun Elaine Nelson was killed with.
The gun? I thought it was...
Darling, Elaine Nelson was found in the snow several hundred yards away from her cabin last night. She'd been shot to death.
Shot to death?
She was trying to get away when he caught her. Killed her.
He? Who are you talking about?
Elaine's ex-boyfriend. She ran out on him after she'd collected her husband's insurance money. He got sore, started looking for her.
Her boyfriend?
Nick Devens, the guy who ran into your studio the night Joe Nelson was shot. The guy who called the police.
But I don't get it.
You really caught him for us, Morrison. After Devens killed Elaine Nelson last night, he was making his getaway. Driving down the road from her cottage when your car crashed into his.
Devens, you mean he...
Yes, Brent. He was driving the other car.
Wasn't hurt seriously. He'll live to die in the gas chamber. We know now, Morrison, that Devens and Elaine Nelson framed you for her husband's murder the night he was killed in your studio. Devens confessed the whole thing.
He did.
Yes, darling. Everything's going to be all right for us, after all.
Let that whistle be your signal for the Signal Oil program, The Whistler, each Sunday night at this same time. Brought to you by the Signal Oil Company, marketers of Signal gasoline and motor oil, and fine quality automotive accessories. Featured in tonight's story were Hy Averback and Betty Lou Gerson. The Whistler was produced and directed by George W. Allen, with story by Nancy Cleveland, music by Wilbur Hatch, and was transmitted to our troops overseas by the Armed Forces Radio Service. The Whistler is entirely fictional, and all characters portrayed on The Whistler are also fictional. Any similarity of names or resemblance to persons living or dead is purely coincidental.
March 26, 1950, The Whistler on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Thanks to Ted at RadioMemories.com for supplying us this episode of Lum and Abner, newly restored. And this episode was originally broadcast on March 26, 1935. Love Lum and Abner. We played their episodes in these shows for years and years and years. And I think you'll enjoy this episode with planning to move the circus and somebody causing them grief.
Howdy, everybody. Here we are, all ready to take you down to Pine Ridge for another visit with Lum and Abner, brought to you by the makers of Horlicks, the original malted milk. And now, let's see what's happening down in Pine Ridge. When we left Lum and Abner yesterday, they were very discouraged over the unsuccessful opening of their circus last Saturday, and were trying to figure out some way to move the show to some of the neighboring towns. As we look in on Pine Ridge today, we find Lum and Abner down at Lum's store, discussing ways and means of carrying on. Listen.
Well, I don't like to invest no more money in this circus neither, Abner, but it's like Squire says. If we leave it here in Pine Ridge, we can't expect to get no crowd here. We've got to take it out of town or get shut of it one.
Well, I don't want to get rid of it if we can help it. I've always wanted a circus, and now we got one, well, I'd love to keep it.
Now, don't you worry. You get to keep it all right. I don't know anybody else that'd have it.
Well, I believe, old Lum, when we get it in some of these other towns around here where folks ain't already seen it, why, we'll make some money out of it.
Yeah, all we got to do now is find out some way to raise enough money to get it moved.
Yeah.
Squire talking about buying a bunch of trucks to move it in. Them things cost money.
Yeah, well, Mike could buy 'em on a credit, maybe.
I don't know. I don't like to go no further in debt on this thing if we can help it. I was just wondering if we couldn't get some of these lumber haulers around here to move us.
Why, we ain't got no lumber to move.
Well, no, but I reckon they could move animals just as well as they can lumber.
Well, I don't know, Lum. I don't believe they could stack them animals up on a truck like they do lumber.
Of course not, but they can set them cages up on the trucks, can't they?
Come to think about it, Lum, there's a transfer company in there at the county seat that we could get to move the elephants.
Transfer company?
Yeah, he's got a sign right there on his truck saying that he moves elephants.
Moves elephants?
That's what it says right on the side there. It says we move anything from a sack of flour to an elephant.
Oh, well, he don't mean he sure enough moves elephants, though, Abner.
Well, now, he sure got that wrote right on the side of his truck.
Yeah, that's just an expression. He means no matter how little or how big an article is anybody's got to move, why, he'll move it.
Well, they ought to take that sign off of there, then, if that's what he means.
Yeah, he just put that on there more than likely for advertisement.
Yeah. Looks to me like a mighty poor advertisement. As few elephants as there is around here.
Well, he never expected to move no elephants when he put it on there.
Well, that's the foolishest thing I ever heard of, Ann. Be about like putting a sign up on a store here that you sell steamboats.
Well, in the first place, Abner, we ain't going to have to move the elephants.
Ain't going to have to move them.
Why, of course not. We'll just...
Why, that's the main part of the show, Lum. Now, we don't want to leave them out here. No, sirree.
No, but them elephants will move themselves.
You mean drive a truck?
No, for goodness sake. No, Abner. Who ever heard of an elephant driving a truck?
I don't know. That'd be the funniest sight I ever seen. An elephant sitting up there in the front seat driving.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, he could signal whenever he wanted to turn a corner, you know, just by sticking out that snout of his to the side. Yeah, I'll bet them policemen in there at the county seat, I bet they'd think twice before they run out and bawled him out for not stopping at one of them stoplights.
Abner, I'm trying to talk sense to you, and I can't do it.
Why, it sounded all right to me, Lum. I don't see nothing wrong with what you said.
Yeah, all this silly talk about elephants driving trucks.
Well, you said they'd move themselves, and
well, what I mean, though, we won't have to haul them in there. We can just let them walk in there.
Walk in?
Why, sure. It ain't but 18 miles.
Yeah, but they don't know the way, Lum. They don't even know what road to take.
Why, of course not. Somebody'd have to go with them, lead them.
Of course. Now, if they'd ever been in there once, why, they wouldn't have no trouble finding a way again, you know. They don't forget nothing.
No, I know they don't forget. An elephant never forgets. I've always heard that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that feller that Squire hired over there to train them, he said it's just downright astonishing how they can recollect things.
Yeah.
He was telling me about an elephant that they had with some circus he was with. It said that it recollected a feller that he hadn't saw for 5 years.
For 5 years?
That's what he said.
Well, I do know.
He said that there was a feller, you know, that was hunting wild animals in Africa, and that he catched this elephant in a trap. And when he seen the elephant, you know, and seen how pitiful he looked, why, he just decided to just turn him loose again.
Well, that was nice of him.
Yes, sir, and he said 5 years later that same feller was sitting in a circus, clean up in the bleachers. And this elephant was in the show, and said he looked up there and he seen this feller, and he stood there and looked at him a minute, and then he walked right over and picked him up with his trunk and carried him over and set him down in a $3 per hour seat just to show his appreciation.
Oh, I don't believe it.
Never charged him a cent for it, that's what he said.
That feller was just telling you some stuff.
Well, I reckon he ought to know he was in the circus at the time and seen it.
Abner, you stay away from down there with them circus fellers. They've already got you using a batch of them slang expressions.
Oh, no, Lum. Them is fine fellers down there. Why, Lord, me, we just have a big time together, joshing one another and all. They never can recollect my name, looks like. They've been calling me Hiram ever since they've been here.
Hiram?
Yes, sir. I bet you I've told them 1,000 times that my name is Abner. But, well, they're just right backwards from elephants, you know. They just don't seem to be able to recollect nothing, them circus fellers.
They're just making fun of you. That's what they're doing. You ain't got sense enough to know it.
Oh, no, they're not neither, Lum. No, sir. Why, they're awful nice. Just as nice a folks as I've ever been around in my life. And they'd do anything for you.
Do anything for you?
Why, sure they will. There's one of them down there. He just the same as give me $2 this morning.
Give you $2?
Well, he never exactly give it to me, but he sold me a pair of $5 spectacles for $3.
Did you let that feller down there sell you a pair of spectacles? Let me see them things.
Yeah. Here. Now, there's a bargain for you.
For goodness sake.
Ain't them dandies? Well, he's sure selling them, I'll say that for him.
Yeah.
He's got a new pair of spectacles on every man, woman, and child in Pine Ridge.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't want to wear no pair of spectacles he fixed up for me, I'll tell you that right now. Not some feller that's following a circus around that way.
Oh, Lum, you're just mixed up there now. You just don't know what you're talking about. That feller is the best octopus I ever seen in my life. He's a heap better than that I went into the county seat and got that last pair from. He's so much quicker.
Quicker?
Yeah. Now, that feller in there at the county seat, he made me sit there for 2 hours just to fit in my eyes, reading stuff. He'd stick up a little old card there and say, "Can you read that?"
Yeah, I know they always do that. They're trying to find out a pair that fits you when they do that.
It's just a bunch of foolishness. I know how to read before I went in there.
He wasn't trying to learn you how to read. He was trying to get your eyes fitted.
And he never done much of a job, I'll tell him that. Taking him all that time, 2 hours and a half. Then he claimed to me that he'd been plumb through a spectacle college. This fella this morning, he just sort of stood there and looked me over a little, and reached down in his case there and pulled out a pair of spectacles and slapped them on me, and there I was. Never taken him 2 minutes.
Was that all he done?
Well, no, he asked me if they hurt my ears, but they never, so I took them.
Yeah, they might fit your ears all right, but what about your eyes? That's what you're supposed to be wearing them for.
Huh?
How did they fit your eyes? Can you see out of them?
Well, I can't tell much about 'em today, Lum. It's been so dab blame foggy all day.
Foggy?
Yes, sir. I never seen a fog hang on so bad in my life as it has
It
today.
ain't foggy. It's them spectacles. They don't fit you. That's the trouble.
Don't fit.
Well, I mean, they don't fit your eyes right.
Well, he said that I wouldn't be able to see through 'em at first, and I'd sort of have to give 'em time to set to my eyes, you know.
If you ain't stone blind by then. Hey, you never need no spectacles in the first place.
Oh, yes, Lum. Oh, Lord me, yes, I did, too. I sure did. My eyes had just plumb went back on me, Lum. I just got to where I couldn't see nothing hardly.
I never heard you complaining about your eyesight.
Well, I never knowed it myself till yesterday. Yes, sir. When a feller gets to where he can't see nothing as big as a bean, why, there's something the matter with his eyes.
A bean?
Yeah. I was down there at the circus grounds yesterday, and there's a feller down there, he had 3 shells there, and then he had a little bean that he put under one of them, you know, and I got to trying to follow that bean, and I lost $9 trying to guess which one of them shells it was under.
You was betting with that feller?
Yeah. I'd have win, too, if my eyes hadn't been so bad.
For goodness sakes. Abner, if I catch you over there betting with them fellers again, I'm going to whop you one.
Well, I can beat him now, Lum, soon as my eyes get used to these new spectacles.
Where's your old spectacles at?
Huh?
Where's your old ones at?
Oh, that's in my pocket.
Let me see.
You want to buy 'em, Lum? I ain't got no use for 'em now.
Of course I don't want to buy 'em. They wouldn't fit me in the first place.
Well, I don't know now, Lum. Them's awful long handles on there. I believe they'll reach over your ears all right.
I never wore a pair of spectacles in my life. Here, give me them new ones. Now, you put them old ones back on before you run.
Now, wait a minute. Now, don't do that, Lum. Here, wait a minute. Put them back.
You ain't got sense enough to look after yourself. I'll do it for you. I'm going over there right now and get that $3 back for you. And I'm going to run both them fellers off of that circus lot, too. Now, granted, that's one thing I ain't going to stand for a minute. Come on.
Well, the old fellows are learning that there's a lot more to a circus than the animals. This is Carlton Brickert, speaking for Lum and Abner and Horlicks, who now bid you all good night and good health.
Let's hope Lum keeps his attitude up, because if he doesn't, it's going to be a mess. March 26, 1935, over 80 years ago, Lum and Abner here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Our friend Ted at RadioMemories.com supplies us all these remastered shows on cassette, CD, or flash drive for your computer. That's at RadioMemories.com. Visit our webpage, classicradio.stream. Stream our shows. Learn about building a classic radio collection of your own. You can contact me, find our social media links, and you can buy me a coffee. The Buy Me a Coffee money helps us acquire additional classic radio theater collections. All righty, thanks for tuning in. Tell all your friends the great radio shows are right here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite radio station.